Hello, Jess, and welcome to Off the Rails podcast with me, Claire. I'm really happy to have you here, and I'm going to kind of give a quick intro of who you are before you can formally introduce yourself and how we've kind of come together today. So, as I've said, this is episode 6 of Off the Rails, and I met you, Jess, first time today, of course, virtually. But I kind of got, I guess, through an algorithm, like I was saying before, through LinkedIn, which is a great platform. No ads, not being paid by LinkedIn to say that, but it is a great platform to kind of get linked with creative people that are in your industry, and kind of making those really good contacts. So what attracted me to your profile and kind of why we're here today and wanting to know more about you and being able to use your platform to spread certain messages throughout this podcast is, you're a third year student at Manchester Uni. And I kept seeing these things come up with, entering another competition, having your own studio, all these things. And I was like, wow, I don't remember ever being able to have the mental capacity as a student to do so much. So I want to dive into that today to kind of understand a little bit more about how you manage that and all those different things. So yeah, we'll talk about your degree, where you are right now. We'll talk a little bit about you, and also I want to know about your studio, which is JO Studio, which your kind of USP is using discarded festival tents and sustainability. So we'll dig a little bit deeper into that. But yeah, I'll hand over to you, and I'd love you to tell me a little bit more about who you are, and also a little bit about what inspires you. I'd love to know that. It's like a hot question that I ask everyone, but I do think it's a nice starting point.
Wow. Well, hi. You flatter me. It's really nice to hear it all on one page. So yeah, I'm Jess, and I'm a final year student at Manchester Met, and I'm studying fashion. And alongside this, I also run my own brand, JO Studios, and I focus on making sort of unisex apparel using discarded festival tents. So I've always been like a sustainable designer, and it's always been something that's really important to me and something that I want to incorporate into my practice. And I first started using tents last summer when I got the chance to volunteer on the cleanup team for Truck Festival, which is like a music festival down in Oxfordshire. And it was kind of hard to get into festivals. Like, a lot of them were unwilling to let me go and pick up materials from there. But I was really lucky that they let me go in as part of the cleanup team, and we took a van and we spent the afternoon just literally picking up tents that had been left over by people at the festival. And I mean, there was literally hundreds of tents that were left behind. It was disgusting, to be honest. It's quite upsetting. But it was nice that we managed to, we probably took about 30 to 40 tents. We just filled the van. And it was nice that I can now sort of give them a new lease of life. And I'm currently working the tents into my graduate collection as well. So that runs alongside running my brand. And they're both sort of similar concepts and ideas. Obviously, with my brand, I have to focus on making it a bit more commercially viable. Whereas with my graduate collection, I can experiment with loads of really exciting techniques and sort of showcasing the value of the tents and how the material can be upgraded. In terms of inspiration, oh my gosh, everywhere, everything inspires me. I love color and the use of color. So I find that I'm inspired a lot by nature and being outdoors and this whole idea of adventuring outside. And I'm quite an active person, so a lot of my designs and my silhouettes are inspired by activewear. So I do a lot of running and cycling and a lot of hiking. So I take all my inspiration from reference garments from these sports. And yeah, just really showcasing sort of the colourful technical fabric that I get from the tents. And I'm also quite inspired by the structure of the tents themselves. So, you know, the way that they have these incredible forms or these gorgeous trims and like the guy ropes and the different colors. So yeah, just picking up bits of inspiration as I go, really. It's
And I
quite
think that's really,
varied.
yeah, it's cool. But I think that's what's great about a creative mind is that there's not one thing. It's not like, oh yeah, this specific art movement or that specific person is my one key inspiration or source of inspiration. It's when you have a creative mind, it's anything like you've just said, a tent, the form. Somebody else might look at that
Yeah.
and what the hell?
Yeah.
So the fact you can translate that in your head into a finished garment, it's a tent, its purpose is for sleeping, but you can, like you've just said, you can bring it to its second life and repurpose it. The beautiful thing is you're not buying a tent from scratch and thinking that you're kind of, yeah, you're giving it a second life, which is really interesting. I spoke to somebody recently on a podcast, Michael Cusack from ACS, and their whole business is around second life, circular fashion, and exactly the same. Some things that they've done is beautiful as well around picking up life jackets from immigrants and giving that a second life. And I think it's beautiful. And the journey of anything, is amazing. And sometimes when you think, oh, I wonder where or who has been in this tent before, some things you might not want to think about, let's be
Yeah.
honest, but it's cool.
Yeah.
I have like a passion, a side of fashion. I have a real passion for upcycle furniture, and I'll find
Oh,
some random things and I'll be like, I can see it straight away. I'm like, I'm gonna paint this like a mad color and just go for it. And my husband will look at me and be like, oh my God, it's something off the street. I'm like, you wait and see that. And
yeah,
I've got
yeah.
some things around the house and I'm super proud of them. And yeah, it's having that vision of I can see what I can turn this into, and it's not stopped there just because a tent has been at a festival and it's kind of done its purpose for that person that's bought it doesn't mean that that's its end of life. So I love that you have the vision, but also I love the fact that you are taking this sustainability journey into part of what you're doing, and you're building that not only to showcase it as a student in the form that you are now, but also taking it further into what you see as your future with your brand. So I think that's brilliant. Like such a lot in just that one kind of first intro that you've just given to me. So before we do go, because I do want to know more about what you intend to do with JO Studio, but before we go there, I want to kind of just take a little bit of a stock of where you are now. So as a student, I do quite a lot of work with students, mentoring, workshops, all these things. And as I say, one thing that kind of attracted me to your profile was the fact that you are able to kind of spin all of these plates. Some things that I hear from the students that I mentor is time management, feeling overwhelmed, very pressured. How do you navigate your way through that? You know, somebody that is, to me, on the face, and we should never really do that, but on the face, you look like, yeah, I've got it. I'm doing this. But how is that time management? How is the reality of it for you?
Well, I try my best. um, I think it's really important with time management. As you said, I've got so many different things going and I'm like here, there, and everywhere. I find it really important to spend a bit of time each week and sit down and go, okay, what am I doing this week? What do I need to achieve? What things have I got scheduled in? And I usually sort of collate this all and have like a weekly plan. And then around this, I'll work in like to-do lists. I'll try and work in areas where I can relax or take a bit of downtime and do something nice. Because I think you can work as hard as you want, but if you're not taking the time to chill out at some point in the week, you just burn yourself out. And I've learned that the hard way. So yeah, just really thorough organization, sort of writing. I find writing things down invaluable. So I'll sit at the start of the day and I'll make a checklist. And then at the end of the day, I'll sit and I'll make a checklist for the next day. And that's something that I've developed a lot during my degree, and sort of learning to be realistic about how much work you're going to do in a day. Like don't don't think I'm going to make an entire garment and it's going to be incredible and I'll finish it, you know, by lunchtime. Actually, if you break down the steps and go, okay, I've got to use this material, this technique, I need to do this, actually breaking it down and then thinking realistically about it just means you're just not disappointed. So
completely.
yeah,
I can completely understand where you're coming from. Whatever stage of life you're in, whether you're, comparing us two right now, I'm somebody that launched my own business in my 40s. You're at your point of life where you're starting or continuing, you've got your business, you're continuing with that, but you're finishing your degree. And I've learned the hard way as well of putting the pressure on myself of, you must do this, you have to do that, Claire, you have to finish. Says who, and sometimes you're your own worst enemy. So now I'm a big fan of my calendar on my laptop, of sectioning out my day and literally
yeah,
putting in breaks as well. Because like you say,
yeah,
if you don't, it's all about setting your own boundaries. Without
yeah,
doing that, your own expectations, if you put together, okay, this is what I expect to achieve, to accomplish this week, taking stock of, yeah, I've done it, and also celebrating those things as well. I think we're often like super hard on ourselves about, oh, I'm really
yeah,
annoyed that I didn't do that, I've let myself down. It's like, there's another day tomorrow, there's next week. Yes, there is hard deadlines, we can't get away from some of those, absolutely, but I think it's good to set realistic boundaries, that you give yourself a break. I think that's super important, not to, get to a point where you do get burnt out or any of those things. So I really like that. I think recognizing, okay, maybe you have got to the point of burnout and you've now understood what not to do, but equally, getting those things in place is super important. So I do love that. I like that piece of advice for anybody listening, because as I said, I have heard this a lot from students in the first and second year of, I'm up all hours. I'm been at uni since crazy o'clock this morning. I'm going home and I'm not stopping. And I've even spoke to people like, enjoy your Easter break. And they're like, I can't, I've got too much to do. I can't stop. And it's like, you have to have a day, a afternoon where you take it to yourself. Like, that's the whole point. So yeah, I think super nice that you recognize that as well, and your tips of how you do it, writing to-do lists, getting to the end of the day and readdressing what did you do and what do you need to take over to the next day is super cool. One thing I wanted to ask you, okay, you're at your third year right now.
mm-hmm.
Could you kind of like reflecting on your journey as a student, like through your first, second year, all of that? What's the step change? How do you see your first year, the biggest kind of challenges, through to your second year and third year? What was the journey? And also looking back, what would you tell yourself through those years,
Oh my goodness. So my first year of university was, so I did a foundation course at Manchester, and the March of my foundation course was the March that lockdown happened. So then we all got sent home. So then coming back for first year, it was all remote learning. So my entire first year of university was all online, which obviously was just like, oh, looking back now, I so lament the fact that I just didn't get any of the experience or knowledge that I should have learned. And likewise with second year, it was kind of hybrid, weird, like the way that you had to be in studios was like specific times and specific days, and some things were online. And so like the hybrid learning element of it was so difficult. I mean, I almost dropped out of my degree like after second year, because I was just like, this is not what I expected. I'm not learning things that I think will be useful in industry. And then I actually took a year out of my degree to try and get a placement, because a lot of degrees really encourage you to do placements. But because of COVID, there was not really any placements going, or places wanted you to work for free, in London. And I was just like, I don't I value myself and I value my work enough to know that I shouldn't be working for free. And I didn't have anywhere to stay in London, and I would have had to work alongside my placement. And eventually it just got to the point, and that's how I started my brand, because it just got to the point where I was like, if I'm working for free for somebody else, why don't I just work for free for myself? And I can work as hard as I want. I'm not worked to the bone, and like that was such a good formative experience for me, like taking a year to sort of reset and go, okay, final year's coming up, where do I want to take this, and where do I see myself going in third year, and what steps can I do in my year out to sort of facilitate this? So I think courses put so much pressure on doing this placement and going and working for these big designers and going to London, but actually I found you don't have to do that. There's no reason why you can't teach yourself similar skills or skills that will help you in your final year. And yeah, if you want to go into industry, maybe that's something that's useful, but actually if you want to continue making your own work after uni, sometimes working for yourself is better, because it will give you a better idea of where to take your graduate collection. And then coming into third year, I love it. I'm literally having the best time. Like I so enjoy using all the workshops, using the facilities. I'm a couple years behind with it all, so I'm getting inducted into things in final year, which is ridiculous, quite frankly. But I just love the experience, and the whole buzz of it, and being back in the art school is just so exciting.
Oh, that is so nice. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
You've said so much. I'm just trying to, okay, let me digest this and kind of unpack what you've just said, because there's so much in that. I think one, I've blanked COVID from my head. So it's like,
Yeah.
of course, yeah, you had that remote working, which is such a challenge in a creative world where, yes, your creativity is somewhat personal, yet when you're around people, you get that you get that energy from each other. Of course, there's a certain amount, like us today, you can get a certain amount from each other on video calls, and you can, whatever that means, but it is limited. Like, to be around people, I think we just crave that energy, and also create more energy from it. So yeah, that is a big challenge. I completely empathize with that. I love what you've mentioned as well about the fact, you had that wobble, which is kind of a word for me. I have them very often. Do I drop out? Is this what I imagined? It's not the experience I signed up for. But you took a stop and you reevaluated and you did something for you, which I think is really, really brave, because it is hard, and to believe that you can do it. And anybody that's listening to that sentence that you said about your self-worth, and I'm worth more than that, people might pause when they hear this statement from me, but I think it's an absolute shame and disgrace that people, especially these big design companies, do not pay people. I did it 20 plus years ago, and I would have hoped that it's completely eliminated, but the fact that I hear it still happens, I think, is disgusting. So I'm just going to put that out there. I just don't think that's okay. Nobody deserves to work for free. So I'm glad that you turned that negative into a positive for you. Like, it did do something great. And you're here now, ready, having ending on a high with regards to your degree, which is brilliant to hear. And also having something set up, because you made that decision to take some time out, and you've laid your foundation for your future, which is amazing. So yeah, that nugget of what you said, there was so much in it, which I loved. So let's move on to then kind of, you set it up nicely, your studio, and what's your intent there, as an inspiring designer, with your own business? It's there, like I say, you've got this foundation. I know a little bit, you've kind of alluded towards what you do want to accomplish, and, a lot of the words that, reusing tents, sustainability, those things are important. But why are they important to you? Is there a kind of bigger reason? Like, you know, what is it that will set you aside from other designers in your head? And why is it important to do what you're doing with your brand?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because I've been sort of practicing sustainable design for so many years now. I grew up as like, my mum would take us to the charity shop and we get all our clothes from there. And when we were kids, we were like, oh no, I just want to go and get new stuff from, you know, Gap or Next or whatever. But actually, it's such an important skill that she taught us. And it was such a great thing to learn because, you know, now charity shopping is like cool. And, you know, thrifting and secondhand is really trendy. And actually, I buy all of my clothes secondhand. You know, I buy everything from a charity shop. I don't buy new clothes anymore. And that sort of intuitive passion for sustainability is something that, again, I've, through thrifting and like charity shopping, like I've always collected materials for my work from secondhand sources. So, you know, taking it forward, it's something that initially when I started my degree, I was like, you know, get my degree and I'll work for a big designer in London or whatever. And actually in the past year, I've been like, okay, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. You know, I could continue doing what I'm doing, or I could go and try and get this incredible design job. But actually, I want to do something for myself and I want to do something that makes a positive change. And again, that's one of the reasons why I didn't go for a placement, because I could see all of these designers, you know, talking about sustainability, but actually not really actioning it. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's all still about how much product you can shift and how much profit you can make. And I was like, I don't want to go into the fashion industry in that way. Like, I don't want my input to the fashion industry to add to sort of the massive environmental issues that it causes. So I want my impact to be something more meaningful and something that actually makes a change. And I think, you know, working for myself, that does allow me to do that because I have the creative freedom and I have the control over my own work to actually do this. And hopefully when I graduate, I'm going to continue. Well, I'm definitely going to continue my studio work. And I'm really fortunate that I'm actually part of a atelier based in Manchester. So this is a lovely studio that I'm in right now. And I'm in one of the lovely rooms at the atelier. It's called the Yard Atelier. And it's like a co-working creative studio space for emerging designers. And they're sponsored by Brother. They're sponsored by a couple of other machinery and equipment suppliers. So I've got access to the most incredible studio and facilities and equipment. And I also get mentoring through the studio to help me develop my brand and my business. And I'm so incredibly lucky to have that as a final year, but also as a graduate. And through that, I'm going to continue doing my business when I'm finished, which
That's
is really
amazing.
exciting.
That is amazing. I had no
Yeah,
idea that
yeah,
was a thing.
yeah.
That is brilliant, because the first thing I said to you when we joined the call was, I love your backdrop. So now
Yeah.
I know exactly what it is. And the fact that, you know, there is some good bigger companies, like you've mentioned, there is a lot that do this. We're going to be sustainable, but let's face it, there's a lot of greenwashing that's going on. And,
Yeah.
you know, we're trying to kind of break that down in this industry as much as possible, but whatever, let's park that for a second. Let's talk about the kind of good, and the fact that, you know, you obviously have a very strong personality, and what I get from you is you're like really determined and you're optimistic. The fact that, yeah, I could go down and I could get that name on my CV, you know, and that would help me get, you know, one step into another step on the ladder for another great company. But who says they are great companies? We've been told these things, that is part of what we should be doing. And it's very interesting from your aspect, somebody that's coming into the industry, somebody that's coming into this fashion world, fashion realm. And I'm just, again, using that comparison of where I've been. And I spoke to a couple of designers this week, actually. One that I worked with many years ago at Boohoo. So I was part of this fast fashion many years ago. So I've learnt my lesson as well. So yeah, we'll move on swiftly from that, given the conversation we're having. But yeah, we were speaking about things like, you were always kind of encouraged to work for well-known name companies. You were always encouraged to work for you should get your name, get this on your CV. But what makes that right? In hindsight, I can think about that now and I'm like, oh, it helped in a certain way to get me on the ladder. But looking back, was it really what I wanted to do? Was it really what I believed in? And the fact that you can sit here and say, I'm doing it for me. This is the change I want to make. That's really inspirational. I wish I had that. I wish I had the guts to do that at that point in my career, and I think it's brilliant. It's, I can't wait to see where you go in your journey, because having that self-belief is next to none. Like I said at the top, I speak to a lot of people, students, people in the midst of their career that still don't have that courage and self-belief to really do what they want to do. And there's many different reasons. Some are financial, some are just not having the confidence in yourself. However, speaking to you today, and for anybody that's listening, I think it's brilliant that you've gone against the grain somewhat and it's working out. It's positive, and I love that for you. But I also, hopefully this will encourage other people that are like, my burning desire is to do something for me, have my own brand, but I'm being told here there's something in my ear that's telling me I should do this. It's like, try it out. Nothing is ultimate. Even if you, like you've done, take a year, take some time, give it a go, and if it works, absolutely brilliant. If it doesn't, you've tried, and that's all we can do.
I've also found, so I've started this rule with myself of anything to do with the brand, I just always say yes to it. So any opportunity that comes my way, I'm always like, okay, I'll give it a go. So and that opens the door to so many opportunities. So through uni, I've done pitching competitions and pitched about my brand, or I've taken part in fashion shows and I have had my work sort of done professionally and styled and photographed. And I think it's about taking all of the opportunities that are available to you, even if you're pretty busy and you've got a lot on. I think still just saying yes and then working around it and working with it is so important.
Yeah, I think there is so many opportunities around that you just have to be open to see them. And I think that's the difference. Sometimes it's like, no, I'm in my own head. I've got my blinkers on. I haven't got time. But it's actually, why didn't I do that? Or I'll go and, communication, community, these things are so important. So I think you're completely right. That's such a brilliant piece of advice for anybody listening. So moving from kind of the future of where you want to be, what inspires you, will you continue, all of those things, coming to where we are right now, can you give us a bit of an insight into your graduate collection? What does it look like? What's it about? I know you've given us a little bit of a sneak peek around, it is, let's say, true to your brand, and you have that USP and you're using it through your brand, you're using it through your graduate collection. But can you give us a little bit more about what it is?
Yeah, so I'm currently 6 weeks away from hand in. So so I've got 4 looks to make by the start of May. So we're well underway with it. And my collection at the moment it's sort of unisex sportswear inspired pieces, and I'm aiming to use completely recycled materials. So at the moment I'm working, as we said, with tents. So I've got all my old festival tents that I collected last summer, and I'm also using old marathon running t-shirts. So when you run, when you run a marathon and then you get a t-shirt at the end, I was in contact with the company that ran them, and I was like, do you have any left over? And so they sent me like 10 boxes of these incredible sort of sweat wicking tops. So I've been sort of working with those to create like stretchy sportswear pieces. My collection's really fun and colourful, and like I didn't want to take myself too seriously with it because, you know, my personality, I'm quite fun and I love colour and I love pattern and print. So it's very bright, and there's a lot of, you know, bits of neon or like fun patterns going on. And I've also been especially focusing on like reference pieces from sort of my own sportswear clothing. So I do a lot of running and a lot of hiking and cycling, and I have done for all my life. So actually taking these garments that I use in like a sportswear context and sort of designing them and developing them, you know, so they're suited to more of like a city or an urban environment has been a really interesting challenge. And it's been something that actually it was like the outcomes that I've created, I think you could wear for both. So I've got a couple of pieces, like some like really brightly coloured football tops that I've made, which I could wear it, you know, when I play five-a-side on a Monday evening, or I could wear it, you know, on a night out. And like that interplay between sort of urban and rural is something that I've definitely explored throughout the collection, and I'll keep exploring when I graduate.
I love that. That's really
Yeah.
nice. I love the fact. I just love the fact that you do so much. And you're very true to yourself, is what I'm kind of finding out through this. You know, I play five-a-side. I love hiking. I love running, and I want to translate what I do in life and in my free time through how I want to look and how I want to feel end to end. So, you know, you've got this real kind of authentic thread that runs through everything that you do, which is it's just super nice. It's very it's very inspiring. Is, you know, you've got a lovely kind of attitude towards it all, and I think it's quite hard to do what you're doing, though, you know. And the reason why I say that is because as humans, as people, we're so used to be told what to do, and this is the right thing to do, and kind of stick to the mold and all of those things, and it's quite impressionable. So the fact that you're going not so much against the grain, but you're staying true to who you are, and the things that are important to you. I think that takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage, and I love that about you. I think it's just, for me, being able to hear that firsthand, and also to anybody listening, it is very inspiring to know that, well, she's doing it. Like, can I do it? I'm sure I can. You know,
It's taken me a long time, to be fair. Like the first 2 years of my degree, I was sat there going, I don't know what my aesthetic is, and I don't know what I want to make or who I want to make for. And actually turning around and going, oh, I want to make clothes for myself and I want to make clothes for the people around me. That was the best decision I've ever made, because I know what I want to make and what I find useful. And actually having my muse as like my friends, or even looking within myself, like I've found it so much easier to design for that person, because I have such an understanding of what they want and what they find interesting and what they find, you know, stylish.
yeah, and I think that's really important because as a consumer, putting that hat on, when you go into a store, online, into an atelier, whatever it may be, when you find some designer that's passionate about what they do, and you know that they understand the end garment, you know, they've thought about the fit and the form and the usability, that basically it's fit for purpose. That is important to a consumer. So believing in what you do and doing it for that is, yeah, it's second to none.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing everything you do. And good luck in these next 6 weeks. It's down to the wire now.
Thanks.
And I think you've got this. You seem super focused. You've got a really great direction. So yeah, good luck with it. I'm sure it's gonna all go in your favor. It sounds amazing. So to finish on, I could go for ages. I think you're a very interesting person. You've got a lot about you, that you kind of really go much deeper on all these topics. But I will finish on this last question. So, as I say, I'm really passionate about giving back to students and having students hear this specific podcast and everything that I do outside of this. So, any advice that you would give to anybody listening to this today about thinking about doing a degree in fashion? What would be your advice to them?
Ooh,
Tough question, I know.
yeah.
But, is there anything that you, in hindsight, you know, what would you, looking back now, somebody that's got 6 weeks left, and there's somebody there, should I do fashion? Is what I want to do. I love that side of things. Should I go down that route of studying and having getting a degree? What would you say to that person?
I think be prepared to work. Like, do not go into a fashion degree thinking that you are going to have the same uni experience as everyone else, because it's not going to happen. If you're hungry and if you want it, you're absolutely going to thrive in the environment, but be prepared for it to be really, really difficult at some points. Obviously, the payoff is incredible, and you come out of uni with all these amazing skills and all this, hopefully, confidence, but do not take it lightly, and make sure you think about, is this the right course for me? Do I want to, really knuckle down for the last couple of years of my degree? But I would also say, what other advice would I give? Yeah, just, if you do end up taking the fashion degree, just literally learn as much as you can whilst you're there. Get inducted into every single technique, go to every workshop, learn all of the skills that you can, because you're never going to get such a good opportunity to be creative and have free reign. And actually, there's so much stuff at uni that I've never done before or even heard of, and they're specialisms that I'm continuing beyond my degree, and they're things that I love doing, but it all came about because I just happened to go to an induction for it. So I think be hungry for it, and then when you're there, continue to be hungry for it and continue to just have this drive and this enthusiasm about it. That's my advice.
Great advice. I, looking back at when I did my degree in fashion design, I think not me. I didn't kind of walk in with that because I'd done my foundation at college in fashion as well. And there was people, outsiders, that kind of, oh, you do fashion, how nice. It's airy, it's airy, you get to draw all day. It's far from the truth, Like the research, the creative blocks, the, illustration, knitting, pattern cutting. For me, maths isn't my strong point. I've learned along the way, but pattern cutting, if I could avoid that part of it, I would have. But you have to know about pattern cutting to make your garment. And the fact that you do it from end to end, from design through to pattern cutting to manufacturing, you learn everything and you appreciate that. Of course, when you go out into industry, more often than not, you pick a certain area of that. If you have your own business, you still relatively probably have to do the end to end until you get to a certain point where you can employ people. But I think, like you say, a brilliant piece of advice is soak everything up. Go out of your comfort zone, ask the questions, get involved with things, because it is an amazing opportunity when you are at uni. You're in this community of everybody focusing on one specific area, and I think that's a great piece of advice. But like you say, don't take it lightly. There's a lot of work to be done. It's fun if you see that side of it. It is. And when you can look back and take the time, you're like, oh, love that. There's parts where you think, I'm never going to be able to get this done in this time scale. But, you face those challenges through life. So I think it's a good life lesson almost to have those things. And I think that's a great piece of advice. So thank you for that. Thank you for today. I have totally enjoyed speaking with you. It's been, it's given me a little bit of energy for the rest of the day now. I often these podcasts, I love doing them. Everybody's so diverse, the topics we speak about, but yours today has been, full of great insights. You're at a real kind of changing point. You're finishing one but starting another, and I think that's such a lovely position to be in. And not to take anything away, it's not that you've just landed. You've set that up for yourself. You've made sure that you're in that position. So it's great. We've got so much to kind of take away from this, from the difficulties of COVID, the taking time out for yourself, setting boundaries with time management, enjoying what you can, kind of putting yourself out there out of your comfort zone and getting involved in things and getting the return of that, learning so much from it. So today has been super valuable for me, but hopefully for you as well. You take away something, and you kind of, when you speak through your own experience, you're like, God, I did do that, and you kind of, you start to almost celebrate yourself. You're like, I'm pretty happy with that, So thank you again. And for anybody listening, I think this has been a really good podcast of expressing the joys that can be had from this industry. And one thing I think which is a great takeaway is how passionate you are about making some change and drawing a line in the sand, and your message around sustainability, which is a huge topic. But I think if we all have the ambition that you have, we can chip away bit by bit. We can chip away and make this a better place for the future as well. So thank you, Jess. Good luck. Best of luck with the next 6 weeks. I have all confidence that you'll absolutely smash it. So brilliant. Thank you for today.